we're off. Alright, now I gotta remember all my buttons for which pens to use. Oh, forgot, I gotta go to this, turn that to that, and turn that to that. Now, let's see, there we go. Alright, we're good to go. Alright, let's do a few things right here. We're just going to work with real just basic algebra skills. First thing we're going to do is just work with exponents right now. Alright, you remember what exponents are? I haven't written on this thing since June, so my writing won't get a whole lot better, but right now it's probably the worst it's going to be. So we're going to deal with exponents. So you know what exponents are. So a to the x power is how we would say this. We have a special word for that a. Does anybody know what that is? Variable. Well, it is a variable, that's true, but as far as exponents and the big number that's below that, like we could have 3 to the 5th power. What would I call that 3 right there? Now it's not a variable, but it's still a what? It starts with a b. A base, right. It's a base, okay? You know how cheerleaders have a base, you know, it's on the bottom, right? You got the flyer and all that kind of stuff. This is the base. Alright, so that's a base. For some people that helps. For some, they have no idea what that's called in cheerleading. So that's the base right there. This right here is the exponent. Exponent. Alright, let's start off with some real easy ones right here. What if you had like, I don't know, 3 to the 2nd power? Or we don't say 3 to the 2nd power, we shorten it. What do we say? 3 squared. Good. See, I told you this is all basic, easy stuff. So 3 squared means 3. Now, it's not 3 times 2. You wouldn't believe how many people do that, okay? But it's not 3 times 2. It's 3 times itself, okay? So it's 2 times, right? It's that 3 written 2 times, and you multiply it together. 3 times 3 is 9. Pretty basic, all right? So if you had something like this, if you had, I don't know, 5 to the 3rd. It's not 5 times 3, which is 15. It's 5. It's times itself how many times? This many times, 3 times. So it's 5 to the 3rd, which is 5 times 5 times 5. That's another one right there where we have a special word for it. We don't say 5 to the 3rd power. What do we say? 5 cubed, okay? That's really the only two that we have special words for, all right? We have 3 squared, 5 cubed, and or you could say to the 2nd power or to the 3rd power. But it's a little quicker saying squared and cubed. All right, so you multiply those together. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is what? It's 125. All right, so that's the kind of stuff that we're doing. Now, let's get a little bit trickier with this. What if you had negatives? What if you had negative 3 to the, I don't know, let's say 4th? Okay, now if we had this, watch what we have. This negative is not in a parentheses, is it? Okay, so what's the only thing being taken to the 4th power, Tiffany? Just the 3, okay? Just the 3 is being taken to the 4th power, not the negative. So that negative, I always say it's kind of floating out in front, all right? So we just stick that number out in front. So really, all we're doing is taking 3 to the 4th power and sticking a negative out in front, all right? So when you don't have any parentheses, you just keep the negative there, and then you just work this thing right here, 3 to the 4th. Well, 3 to the 4th is 3 times 3, times 3 times 3, right? 4 of them. So what's 3 times 3? Let's do this in our head. 3 times 3 is 9 times another 3 times 3, which is 9. So what is that going to give you? It's going to give you, no, it's 3 times 3, which is 9. Then another 3 times 3, which is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. Okay? Now, some of these you should be able to do in your head. All right? Don't run to your calculator every single time you have one of these. Some of these you should be able to do without a calculator. Now, are you allowed to use a calculator in here? Yes, you are. Okay, you can have a calculator. You don't have to have a graphing calculator. If you have one, that's fine. It's perfect. You can just, but you do need a scientific calculator. You know what I'm talking about? Where it says sine, cosine, tangent on there, and it's got all the different buttons. All right, you don't have to get a graphing calculator, but you do need a scientific calculator. Now, if you already have a graphing, it's fine. Keep it. Use it. You can. That'd be perfect for in here. All right. So that's negative 81. What if we did this though? What if we said negative 3, we put that in parentheses, and we take that to the 4th power? 81. Okay, it's positive 81 because of this. Look, the negative is inside the parentheses. So what do we take into the 4th power here? Let me get some names. Yeah, we're taking the negatives in here, okay? So what we're doing is this. You don't have to write all this out, but I'm going to just to show you what's going on. So we're taking negative 3 to the 4th power. So we take negative 3 and multiply it by itself 4 times. You see that? 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So it's negative, 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 negative. If you have 4 negatives, even number of negatives always gives you what when you multiply? A positive, right. If you pair them up, it's always positive. If you have an odd number, you always get a negative, okay? So this right here, there's 4 of them, that's positive, so it's going to be positive 81. So that's positive 81. You see the difference? All right. For some people, that's pretty tricky. For some, you know, it's no big deal. I've been doing that stuff before. But we got to start somewhere, right? What if we had something like this? What if we had 4 times 2 squared? All right. Well, what we do here, the best way to do this is, no, there's no FOIL on this. This is not a FOIL problem. We'll talk about FOIL in a little bit. Maybe not today, but in another time. What we're going to do in here is we always do what's inside the parentheses first. Do you remember that? Order of operations. You do what's in the parentheses first. So let's do that. Forget the squared right now. Yeah, do you remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally? Do you remember that? P-E, yeah, people say PEMDAS or whatever. What is the P? Parentheses. It means do whatever's in the parentheses first. So let's do what's inside of here. 4 times 2 is what? 8. And then you can do exponents. That's what the E stands for. Parentheses, then exponents. Then you can do multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So you do, so 8 is in parentheses. It's positive. You square it. 8 squared is 64, right? Because 8 times 8. It's not 8 times 2. It's 8 times itself. Okay, 64. We good with that? All right, that's pretty easy, isn't it? We got about another minute or so. Let's do one of these. We just talked about, this is called order of operations. You've been doing that since you were a little kid, haven't you? At least since Algebra 1, probably even before Algebra 1. Let's do one. This is from my book. I know I didn't give you a book yet, but but I will. Times 5. Okay, here we go. It says to simplify, I think is what this stuff says. Alright, it says simplify this thing. This is division, so 6 divided by 3 plus 2 cubed times 5. So what do we do first? Parentheses. Are there any parentheses here? No. Exponents. Okay, we could do exponents. We could do this thing right here. So 2 cubed. So let's just, I'm probably doing more steps than you really need to do, but it's okay. Just like that. Now it says multiplication and division. So we do any multiplication and division. That kind of goes together. Any multiplication and division, and then we do addition and subtraction. So you only have one addition here. That's the last thing you're going to do. So what do we do now? Well, you can do the division. So I'll do this, and you can do the multiplication. All right, you kind of do those at the same time. So let's do this. 6 divided by 3. You're not going to go 3 plus 8. All right, everybody see that? Do not go 3 plus 8 because that comes after the multiplication. So if this number is being multiplied or divided by something, you have to do that first. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, then you can put the plus. Now you got to do this. 8 times 5 is 40. Now you can go ahead and do the addition. That is 42. And that's the order of operations. Does that make sense? Yeah, pretty basic. All right. Bell's about to ring, so let me give you a worksheet. Now, we might have not covered all of this, but do as much as you possibly can. We'll try to finish this up tomorrow, okay?